We will call the April 9th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. Please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, any comments from the public? I can't see Chris's face, so I'm just going to assume he's good. Okay. All right, so could I get a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of March 26, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
No, that's good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Stacy. All right, so a few things under correspondence. Laura Wenderoth submitted an application for the Economic Development Commission. We also received a letter that should be in your packets from the newly named Board of Finance Broadcasting and Transparency Working Group, a citizen-led group sharing the importance for having Board of Finance meetings recorded and streaming. I can give more of an update on that later. And then we also received a letter from Jess Diggs regarding trash collection and the use of bins in the borough. And again, we've received a lot of correspondence on that, but that one was directed to all of us and was specifically about a board meeting, so we included it under correspondence. Then, okay, exciting. Could I get a motion to appoint Eamon Brady as an alternate member of the Housing Opportunities Commission?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
No, this is exciting. He's a recent graduate, and he's excited and anxious to get.
His mom's great on that commission, too.
Yeah.
I had
The
a
two of them would be great.
call with him, and then Hannah, the new chair, also spoke with him. And yeah, seems really great and really committed to getting here and being here and, ready to kind of roll up his sleeves. So it'll be exciting. So it's awesome. Maybe we'll get some more
Someone
students.
that young, it's just
Yeah.
great.
And I love when new people, people that haven't done anything before. Yeah.
It's exciting. All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. This might be where our agreement ends for the night. No, it's okay. Disagreement can be healthy. Okay, so appointments for the WPCA for the 2 alternate seats that we were pleased that the Charter Commission added. So just to recap, we had 3 candidates and we have 2 seats. I'll start by just saying really appreciate everyone's interest. It's wonderful. We met actually with someone from the EDC who had counted, I think we have something like over 30 openings on boards and commissions. So it really is so genuinely appreciated when people reach out to apply. So I don't know, Ben, do you want to start on this one?
Sure, I would nominate Elisa Morrison and Dennis Unitas. I'm very impressed with all 3 candidates. I think they'd all be good. Elisa and Dennis, I've had the opportunity to see in action for quite a while. Bob, we've just appointed to the flood prevention board, and I think it's a good opportunity for him to get his feet wet in town. I think he's probably fully qualified for any of these boards, but Elisa works specifically in the public utilities, and Dennis, just from his work on the inland wetlands, I feel confident in him. Those are my 2 choices.
Okay. Do you want me to go next, or do you want whatever is better for you?
Doesn't matter. You can go next if you want, and then I'll go with my 2.
Okay, because I have a feeling we might all, like the planning and zoning one, might all disagree. So it could be an interesting discussion. Married to Dennis also, so there's some agreement, and then Robert. And I think trying to be respectful of everybody, like I said at the beginning, really appreciate everyone reaching out, and everyone has their, I think, genuine motivations for being here. But I think looking at this board and what they need and what they already have on there, Dennis definitely stood out for a lot of reasons, and I have a feeling we were probably united on Dennis. So Robert, to me, the difference was just, kind of a newer comer, but with an extensive background. That was really impressive. And that we have 2 people on the WPCA who have worked in different aspects directly of water pollution control authorities. One more at the management level and one, kind of boots on the ground. So I just thought Robert brought a kind of unique and different kind of other aspects to the board that could be missing perspective. But open to hearing what you think.
So Dennis, 100%. I've known Dennis for years. He's a well-respected environmental professional, recent retiree, and his understanding of the discharge permits and the regulatory end is just so key. I think he'll be a really great addition to the board. He's been such an asset to the other boards he's been on. He's always the one to volunteer and take on something different, do some research, both on the water board, the climate, and inland wetlands. So
He's like actively helping us
He is-
with a grant right now.
oh yeah, I was going to say, so he is just great. I, had a chance to talk more with Bob, and he went to the, and I did attend the last water board, and he's my second choice as well. I'm excited because it's a new face volunteering. It's somebody new. He's retired and is excited to give back, and he has such a wide range of experience. And I love that he also has the stormwater part in addition. Not that WPCA is doing that now, but they could be doing it in the future. He's got so much infrastructure experience, in different locations and with the regulatory and with operations and construction. And I think that's something that they don't have right now. So while I think all three candidates are absolutely, qualified, those two are my two choices.
Oh, I thought there'd be more. Okay. All right, so I think I can vary the things that way, right, to make it more clear, because we'll have a unanimous vote on one. So I'll separate the motions. So could I get a motion to appoint Dennis Unites as a alternate member of the WPCA?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I will make a motion to appoint Robert Ulrich as an alternate member of the WPCA. Could I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Abstain.
those abstained or opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. Right, and yeah, I really appreciate it, and hopefully this will be exciting to see how this goes.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the other members stay on for long enough that everybody has time to train and.
Oh, believe me, because there's a
Jump ship.
learning curve on that board. It's like, yeah. Having spent 6 years on that board.
Yeah. All right, nothing under old business. New business. Oh, okay, Clara Drive roadway acceptance. As we've talked about, it was actually a while ago, so just recapping because we haven't talked about it again. We had ongoing discussions with the state DOT, police department, and public works regarding the town's acceptance of Clara Drive, as it no longer meets, or maybe never met, DOT road standards. And the DOT had indicated that they would need to make certain changes to Clara that could impact traffic flow and potentially other experiences. And so we'd met and talked, and they kind of came back to the table. I think it was back when Rob was here the first time they talked about this, with more kind of to offer of what they would do to bring the road up to at least town standards, and what they would agree to keep doing, like the snow plowing and such. So as part of the transition, just to recap, they made several upgrades, including paving, adding ADA compliant ramps to the sidewalks, and kind of going, I wouldn't say fixing, but enhancing some drainage. And so both the police department and public works supported the town's acceptance of Clara Drive. And then additionally, as of last week, the Planning and Zoning Commission conducted their 824 review and recommended accepting Clara Drive as a town right-of-way. And then since that point, we've done the whole checklist for road acceptance. The WPCA also signed off on it. So we are ready now to make a motion to officially accept Clara Drive in Mystic as a town right-of-way. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any?
I have a couple of questions
Yep.
and discussion, and including a discussion
Yep.
on the checklist. So first, my question is, and I can't see this, I'm just asking,
Yeah.
is there any downside to this that's been identified?
Yes, anytime I think you, being
Yeah.
honest, like take on a new asset, there's some,
Yeah.
we could just put Jeff on the spot, no. There's always, you can jump in if I'm lying to anybody unintentionally, but I think, being honest, there's always gonna be some downside. We're taking on a new
Yeah,
asset,
yeah.
so with it comes the maintenance and the upkeep,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it is
but
a
they
very
are plowing
small
it.
segment. They did make the upgrades, like any concerns we had going into it, they addressed them. They've agreed to plow it, which was a big one.
Yeah.
And like we said, they also, I think, made updates to the light too, in addition to the ADA ramps, the paving, and, Public Works was like, it's it's not gonna add to like the workload enough that it's a big concern or a big area. There's more concern with the trade-offs for not accepting it.
Okay, and so I'm not mistaken, it's our light, right?
That's right, that's
It's
what I
the
was
only
talking
light
about.
we own, is the rest of them, I may be wrong on the only light. Somehow it's like.
No, that was a state light, wasn't it?
Oh, it is a state light? I thought it was somehow, who owns,
It doesn't matter, because
Coogan.
everything's our responsibility.
Oh,
no matter
okay.
what. We
So
own
it doesn't-
Coogan.
okay.
So it might
So
be
I
our
think
light.
it's our light.
I know it was a big deal that they upgraded the box, I don't know what it's called,
Yeah.
no, I'm looking at you like you're a traffic
No, no,
engineer.
yeah, with the switches and everything.
Yeah, they
for it,
upgraded it, which was not, it was
Yeah.
very extra that they did that. So that was a big get.
okay.
So I don't know if that's because it was ours or because they just don't usually do it.
So my other question is, and it's only because this has happened in the past when we accept a road, what about the stormwater?
Yes, so Chris was very active in this, I always feel very confident now, and obviously Chuck is planning zoning, is big on stormwater, but it should be fine, that was, before Norm Miller retired, who was the DOT guy for drainage, he was on site with us extensively, and we met with the old Mystic Village and the aquarium, because obviously they have their own separate
Yeah.
concerned issues with drainage, and we kind of all agreed and looked at different things, and basically they did, the aquarium had some concerns, they looked into them, and they were able to either verbally address them, that they weren't, it wasn't as bad as, people over time had maybe made it out to be, or they were able to address certain things. But basically, they did camera and look at the whole line of what is under us to be sure, and everything looks good.
So does it go to that, you may not know the answer, the basin, the pond? Is that where it goes? It's not gonna add to town maintenance
No,
issues.
exactly,
Okay.
yeah. And there is a question
Like, where does it go?
about, yes, bigger question about that, because we can't get under Old Mystic to
Yeah.
do those pipes, so there is a little bit, but I mean, that has nothing to do with
Yeah,
this.
I remember
So-
that from
But
WPCA.
some of the stormwater up there goes into the sewer system, doesn't it? Isn't that one of the
Well, the
issues?
I&I,
Yeah,
which they're trying to
it's not
fix,
supposed
it's not supposed to.
No, I
But that was
understand.
that whole thing under Old Mystic Village, they couldn't, I remember with the WPCA and the sewer line and everything there and replacing stuff. I just was wondering if it went to that pond.
I don't think so, I think but I know there's two different drainage ones, one goes back towards Cherry Brown, like that way, and then one goes out towards the river.
Okay. Okay, oh, that makes sense.
And then
Yeah.
there might be another one. But basically, Chris spent extensive time on this,
Because
Steve.
Chris and I have had
Yeah,
many
Steve and our
discussions about
engineer,
When we take it
we're
to
not-
the road.
definitely, this isn't a method to fix the aquarium or, issues, that's a separate kind of
Yeah.
conversation, but for the road acceptance, they felt very confident, and even Stacy's heard so much about drainage, she's like, wait, we gotta be sure we go through this whole contract with like drainage in mind, and stormwater issues, so yes, it was definitely
Okay. And
a
I'd
top
love to
priority.
see, and maybe it's there and it just isn't as clear, I'd love to see stormwater and the maintenance, the ongoing maintenance of stormwater structures called out on that checklist. Because of the whole Nautilus Drive thing, who maintains this basin? Who maintains?
That definitely is, but to your point, maybe it should be more explicitly,
Because there's a
called out
difference
on the
between the pipes and the catch basins and the actual, where does the stormwater end up and who dredges it and who maintains
yeah,
it?
we definitely do have that, because that's been a huge part of discussion over the last year on a lot of things. But it is pretty clear, I don't know if it's through, and Ben, you might know this more, but like through planning and zoning, when they do a final, like for a subdivision, like who owns what, because there was recently a question about another one, it was like, no, this is very clearly the private property, this is not a town one. So we do have a system, and I know even for back-looking ones, Stephen, our intern, feels weird calling that, he's like above an intern, but he has been mapping on GIS to map our catch basins and stormwater systems, so that's like a ongoing project, but they're working on it, but they definitely do capture new ones.
Okay. Of course, I have a total beef with anyone that's owned by a private homeowners association that doesn't maintain it. So
That's the big
I would
issue.
love to see that not be able to happen with some kind of
Is that a
bond or
zoning
something.
policy?
Don't know. I don't know whose policy it is, but it has,
Yeah, it's in the subdivision regulations, I would imagine.
yeah, and it's really hurt us
Maybe
a
it needs to
number of
change.
times. Because I think that needs to change, because,
Not to
Homeowners-
put more
yeah.
work on you,
Okay.
but if you have the time or could just write up a memo, but you and Stacy could help you with this, but like to set up a meeting with Clifton and Chris,
okay.
you and
Yeah.
Jeff. But just to say, hey, just whenever works, like, would like to do a
Okay.
deeper dive on
Yeah.
between
'Cause there's
zoning regs
so
or
many,
public works
yeah.
policies to really
Yeah.
be thinking about this bigger issue of maintenance and
Because we
homeowner
end up with these
associations.
basins that nobody takes care of.
Yeah.
And in some cases, they contaminate groundwater and they, there's a lot of other issues that could come out of them. And they're just magically supposed to be taken care of by a non-existent homeowners
Yes,
association.
well, the Nautilus Drive one was a perfect example of
Exactly.
what goes wrong or
Yeah.
what can go wrong.
Yeah,
Exactly, so that's,
okay.
I think, if
All
you
right.
don't mind, just because you
No, I
have
can do that.
the best knowledge on this, from that perspective, because I think if they can explain better than I can the whole existing process and checklist from both departments and what we're currently doing and the enhancements that have been made, I think you'll probably still be able to see areas for improvement.
Okay.
And then we can see, because it might need to be like an ordinance change on public works side, or it might need to be zoning change, or
Okay.
maybe it'll be just a simple procedural change.
That would be great.
Yeah, now would be the time to
Yeah.
address the zoning
Yeah.
regulations.
Yeah, well, exactly, so, okay, cool. All
Well, I don't
right,
know
sorry,
if
those
there's
were my
any-
questions.
Yeah, they're not really digging into subdivision. Good.
You really should.
No, and I feel good that Chuck Sheehan's had an opportunity to review it.
Yeah, he's good with stormwater.
Yeah.
Anything else on this road?
No.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, good. DOT, be happy. Maybe they'll give us some money for other stuff. No, I'm kidding. Okay, we are going to set the call for the annual town budget meeting on April 21st, 2025, and the date for the adjourned annual town budget meeting / referendum on April 29th, 2025. It's going to get a little complicated but in case anything gets messed up. So officially, be it hereby resolved that pursuant to section 3-2 of the charter, the Board of Selectmen calls the annual town budget meeting to be held on Monday, April 21st, 2025 at 7 p.m. at Stonington High School, 176 South Broad Street, Pawcatuck, Connecticut, as outlined in notice of annual town budget meeting that will be attached to the minutes of this meeting as Appendix A. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution to call the annual town budget meeting on Monday, April 21st, 2025 at 7 p.m.?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this one?
Nope.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Now, ready for it? Be it hereby resolved that pursuant to section 9-1 of the charter, the Board of Selectmen sets the date for referendum and adjourned annual town budget meeting for April 29th, 2025, as outlined in the notice of referendum and adjourned annual town budget meeting that will be attached to the minutes of this meeting as Appendix B. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution to set the date for the referendum and adjourned annual town budget meeting for Tuesday, April 29th, 2025?
So moved.
Here a second.
Second.
Any discussion on the referendum?
No, I think we'll just have to really communicate the fact that it's only from 12 to 8 and it's only in 2 locations.
Yes, and Stacy is awesome and already has it ready to go on the town website as long as everything goes okay today. So all that information will be ready to go for tomorrow. But again, any help sharing, and we'll use the app and we have this. And then we'll use the papers hopefully, but if, any help getting the word out also through the town committees and such.
Okay.
Now,
And there's absentee ballots.
yeah, I don't have strong feelings on this either way, but I know that last year we talked about perhaps not having a referendum specifically because of the result of holding it last year. And I didn't know whether this was because of the inclusion of the bond issue, that it was just assumed that it would be easier to do it this way. But I'm just wondering why we haven't had that discussion. That's all.
Yep, I think just from the past meetings, I've kind of consistently shared that I do think it's like one of the most important votes the town has, just because people haven't exercised their right. I think making it accessible at a referendum and with absentee ballots versus just you have 30 minutes to come one day to vote on something that impacts your everyday life in the town is really important. So I'm always in favor of the referendum, but I know every year this comes up. This year, though, I think because we've been having the discussions about the bond being the same, and just I think was assumed. I mean, it has to be together. But yeah.
All right.
No, I think
Did
it's,
you ever-
especially with the bond, I think it's important that it's a referendum. I mean, I agree with you, like, we don't get a great turnout, but otherwise people wouldn't have an opportunity for the absentee ballots.
Yeah,
There's
no,
so
I
many
don't
people.
want to skimp on
Yeah,
democracy, but
exactly.
just,
No.
yeah, it's a little discouraging.
It is
when you see the
discouraging,
result of the
because it is so
referendum.
important. It's like,
It's very depressing.
like the most important.
But again, in fairness to voters, the past 2 years, it's been a 0% increase, so there really wasn't that much to weigh in on. And this year, there's a lot to weigh in on. There's a budget increase and the bond. So let's see if we can break records and get a really good turnout. Chris is feeling optimistic.
Always.
All right, we still have another one. Okay, any further discussion on this?
No.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Now we're gonna set the call for a special town meeting. Spoiler alert, same day, same place. So on April 21st, 2025, and then the date for the adjourned special town meeting referendum on April 29th, 2025, to consider and vote on the following. A resolution appropriating $15.5 million for the purpose of evaluating, planning, design, construction, repairs, replacement, improvements, and modifications to the town's infrastructure, property, and facilities, and authorizes the issue of up to $15.5 million in bonds and notes to finance the appropriation. Be it hereby resolved that pursuant to Section 3-3 of the Charter, the Board of Selectmen calls a special town meeting on Monday, April 21st, 2025 at 7 p.m. directly following the annual town budget meeting at Stonington High School, 176 South Broad Street, Pawcatuck, Connecticut, to consider and act upon resolutions as outlined in the notice of the special town meeting, which will be attached to the minutes of this meeting as Appendix A. Could I get a motion to approve the resolution to call a special town meeting on Monday, April 21st, 2025 at 7 p.m.?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
No?
All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. So now, last one. Be it hereby resolved that pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 7-7, the Board of Selectmen hereby remove the first item on the call for April 21st, 2025 special town meeting for submission to the voters and sets the date for the referendum and adjourns special town meeting for April 29th, 2025 as outlined in the notice of referendum and adjourned special town meeting that will be attached to the minutes of this meeting as Appendix B. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution to set the date for the referendum and adjourn special town meeting for Tuesday, April 29th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
No?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, so we're officially sending these 2 weeks, town meeting, 3 weeks, vote. Let's see what happens. Right, that's it for that. All right, so comments. Deborah, Ben, want to be one?
No, I've got nothing tonight.
I have a couple little ones.
Okay.
All right, so first I wanted to say thank you to the beautification committee, because every time I come in here, and now they've got the daffodil bulbs coming up in the planters, they do such a great job. And I know they're having a fundraiser at Grace Hill on the 23rd of April, so.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll share the information. I just saw it today.
Okay.
But,
We'll repost that.
so anything to help them out, I'm
Yeah.
happy to help them out. And then a couple things I wanted to note that I was really honored to participate and give a short presentation at the Circle Resilient Connecticut
Oh, yeah, how did
webinar
it
this
go?
week. It went really well. They packed a lot of stuff into an hour. So I kind of gave my blurb about, Stonington, what our concerns are, what we're hoping to get out of the study, which in a nutshell was they've given us a lot of large kind of aspirational ideas and designs, but we're really hoping additionally for some kind of smaller, concrete, short-term projects, ideally with some linked funding sources or ideas where we could fund things. Because, well, it's great to have, moving a building or raising the roadway. Those aren't things that are going to happen in the near future. And it would be nice, I kind of called it like baby steps to get started and have some more concrete projects that we could send to the Board of Finance. So, and then it was good. And then Beth gave, the blurb, kind of a very quick summary of everything. And then they talked about East Haddam, who has very different flooding problems, kind of over by the Goodspeed.
Yeah.
It's riverine flooding. So it was actually an interesting website, and it's been recorded, so if you can hear me.
We could share it.
Was there flooding there this week, or last week? Because
In Haddam?
there was river flooding.
Oh, I
very
bet there
early.
was. They didn't talk about it. They showed a bunch of pictures of what happens. Because they've actually got a culvert that kind of goes underneath the Goodspeed
Yeah.
Opera, like rehearsal hall. And then they've got a real constricting culvert kind of on one of the roadways near the Goodspeed. And so they had a lot of pictures, but very interesting. So it was good.
Thank you for doing that.
Oh.
If you share or point us to the recording, we
Okay.
could post it and
I
share it.
will, I will. And then I'm gonna, coming up, there's another webinar that I may be able to do, but I'll definitely do the workshop about, a new program to look at flooding in the area. And it's coming out of Yukon, so I'll share that information as well. I just got an email about it. I know that Dennis Unitas is also doing that. And then my last question is status of Boathouse Park.
Oh, actually, a good update. Okay.
Oh, maybe you're going to share it,
Yeah.
So I know I have some additional soil remediation work that I'm going to be working with DPW and supervising.
thank you.
But I got to wait till it's not so wet.
And whatever happened with the materials that the hotel deposited there?
They're still there.
They're still there.
They're still there. And that'll be part of kind of the whole fill evaluation, but I haven't seen back from them results of any testing, and we haven't done any testing because we haven't identified, maybe we have, where our fill's coming from. So if it's coming from the same place, it would make life a lot easier, but.
Yeah,
So
and it might
it's on the
help,
list
yeah.
of things to deal with. It's unlikely that, obviously they're not going to have to remove it, but we may want them
They
to.
aren't going to have to remove it?
We're probably gonna, we desperately need fill,
We need
so as long
fill.
as it's
We need
clean.
fill.
But it's got to be tested.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's, we're just
Typically, it's
hoping
tested
to get
before it
that.
gets there, right?
Yeah, so,
but they use it on their own site.
but they use
so-
it on their own site. It's supposedly virgin material, but we're going to need to test it anyway because we're a state, we're in a state program. So the goal is maybe that they help pay for the testing.
And maybe you can address it, Danielle, but I'm curious as to contaminated materials that were excavated at Swan Street.
You got a call with that today.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I mean, Amtrak is
All right,
super.
that's probably all I have, so you can.
Fine. Yeah, if you want, I can start with that. So we actually had a call today with Plato, our LEP that we actually pay, like Debbie. Such a deal. And after what feels like years, but I think it's been like a little over a month of back and forth with Amtrak, they have declined to take ownership as the generator. And it's been so much back and forth with them and then their legal team that basically today we decided like we can't keep, we're gonna get into a bigger liability with holding it at the WPCA site. So we talked it through, so Plato will sign off on behalf of the town as the generator. We talk through, any potential risks and liability, and knock on wood, again, we're this tiny component that's gonna go to a landfill, probably as like a cap.
Yeah.
And if one day that landfill becomes some sort of Superfund site, we could be named as part of it,
Still own it.
but we'd be, 0.008% of, the liability. But he made me feel better saying there's yet to ever be a municipality named in anything like that. It was typically for like coal, right?
Yes.
Like remains of these big
Yeah.
companies that were just, blatantly just dumping things everywhere, where they've been brought into these lawsuits to clean up where they've dumped things. So again, this should be fine. It's being brought right to Massachusetts, I think. Or, to like
there's nowhere to go in
a
Connecticut.
landfill and like part of their capping or tiny part of it. So like, again, it should be fine, but it just would have been better if Amtrak had done it, but they refused. So we're not going to just let it sit at the WPCA
Yeah,
site.
I know it came up when WPCA was approached, before the project started, WPCA
Yeah.
had to sign off on storage on their property, and Chuck, to his credit, made a point of
Can't
wanting
live
to
here.
ensure that that we didn't end up being the generator or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, exactly, the term generator.
Well,
Yeah.
But
we
apparently
would, Deep knows where it came from.
Yeah, and so
And
that's
they
the other
will
part of it, is that we're gonna fill out a form for DEEP called the Notice of Release.
Yeah.
Because I guess Amtrak they didn't necessarily have to, whatever it was, but they never notified DEEP originally, I guess, because they didn't necessarily know there. So we told them that was part of our
Yep.
thing with them, that, well, we are gonna inform deep that this was actually on your property and the PCB level and whatever. So it'll at least be on
Yep.
file that, you know, while we signed off as the generator because it came up as part of our project and we were paying to move it to Massachusetts, it actually was originally on Amtrak property. So Amtrak is, yes, we'll stop there. But at least we have a plan and a process. We signed the paperwork actually just right before the meeting.
Good, this will be out.
So hopefully it'll be out of there pretty soon, and get moving on that. And then they can go back to hopefully working on finishing,
Yeah.
the Washington Street project, and then.
So what needs to be done after the soil removal?
That was just a big focus of poor Chris's time, but then Plato and whoever I'm forgetting, is it CLA, whoever the contractor is down there, will be able to put in, is it the backflow preventer?
Yeah.
Is so that's why we did follow up and ask, that's why it's still flooding, that final step it actually has to be put in. So that should happen, and then
Good.
it's like 10-year project should be done.
Yeah, well, nice to get that done.
And so that was really good. On the boathouse, also good news, I met with Molly today, we did a big grant update. And Friday, latest Monday, because it'll just depend on when the legal ad appears in the paper, the bids for the boathouse are going out.
Finally.
So you guys are the first to know, we haven't even gotten to update the committee, because we were like, I don't want to give them false hope, because
Yeah,
it keeps
yeah.
getting put off. But really
So-
good.
So DECD
Yep,
approved, we're all
approved.
set, okay.
We had to obviously then
Yeah.
go do more
Yeah.
changes and everything, but yeah, they've been great. I have to say, the team at DECD has been really great. And so those will go out, we're gonna give them, I think it's until May 13th to respond. And then we'll know, hopefully if we have enough money,
Started.
and if we can get
How many
started.
bidders?
Oh, no, so we'll put it out
Put it out.
Friday or Monday, so then
So you
we'll,
don't know how many?
We don't.
yeah, we'll know by May 13th.
Hopefully more than one.
Hopefully at least one for everyone. So hopefully it's so stressful,
Just
this
get this thing
project
going.
might be the end of me, but yeah, it's very stressful, but everybody's done great work. So many people have pulled together, like Kent Frost team, Tim that works with Chad has been doing so much work on this. You know, obviously Molly, obviously poor Jim, and just like everybody. So hopefully we're gonna get there soon. But it's good news that it's going out, and then we'll just know. We'll know what the market says. I mean,
Yeah.
this will be our
Yeah.
second attempt. We did everything we could to get the bid package written in a way to get the lowest possible bid amount. I mean, there's really nothing left to do. So I feel good about how much work and time everybody put into getting it to where it is. So we'll find out. And then potentially, if it goes well, work could start in June. And then,
Okay, good.
you know, verdicts out, you know, how long it'll take, just depending on everything. But
Well, we'll get the
The
other.
biggest thing is
soil
just
stuff
getting
done.
started.
Easy.
Yeah,
yeah, it should be so much easier compared to,
yeah. And we're hopeful that we don't hear again from, Deep had 45 days to give comments. 2 years later, they got back with comments. Yeah.
it's not funny. I'm
Yeah, we're
sorry.
waiting on them on so many projects.
But like poor Dan with WPCA, right? He's like, we still haven't ever heard back about the Mystic plant, right? If it's that one, he's like, but we're putting in one for Pocketuck or the Borough, and he's like, we'll see if it, you know, maybe 5 years from now, we'll hear back about that one.
Well, we're still waiting for the INI project too.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
It's a little challenging, but again, I can't say enough about DOT's been great to work with, and DCD and the Brownfield program, just fantastic. And I don't know what the other issues are, but, the other, we've been working a lot, CCM, another call this week, more outreach with the state, just around a lot of different legislative challenges and frustrations, what feels like a big disconnect with municipalities and our state partners. So we're continuing to try and raise the flag on that and just let them know how this is really negatively impacting us. And we'll see if we can keep making progress. The session is still going, so we're still trying. And then the other, I guess I'll close on some good news. I think it's fine, right? Yeah, we're just gonna do it. So again, it's not official because we still have to like work out some more stuff, but the VFW voted this week and they agreed on a long-term lease for their back lot to create a recreational field with the town.
Oh, that's great.
So it was really, we just so appreciate their partnership. Again, still have to work out, they need to get an official attorney.
Yeah.
They need to work with ours, we need to work through logistics, but the goal would be hopefully with this June town meeting that we've been planning with like the tax abatement, all that stuff, firefighter, some other the harbor management stuff, that this could go with it. And it's really exciting.
That's great,
Public
because we
Works-
heard, from so many people who were talking about fields.
Oh my
which
gosh, so many
is
people about
awesome.
field. So I think it could be really wonderful. And again, not just get anybody's hopes up, it will take some time to actually then get money to actually create the field, but Public Works has been just amazing. And they've just been working so hard to try and figure this out and get it all together. So
So is that
hopefully-
owned locally, or is that owned by the
the command post?
Yeah.
My understanding is the command post, like their unique individual command post, and it's like their membership.
Okay.
So this will be very exciting. I haven't told the Board of Finance yet, but we'll go
You
there.
have now.
But we did confirm, Jeff already left, but we can use our open space money because it's allowed for recreational purposes, not, you can't use it to create a field, but to get land,
Yeah,
you
get
can.
Even the lease?
I believe so. It's a good double check to have, but, it's being, it'll be, the terms we put in there were 2 30 years, so it's a 60-year essentially preservation of recreational open space. Can't build on it. So, so that's really exciting. So we'll see what happens there. And then, we also, just to give an update, we did a really good, we haven't done one since, what was the hurricane that wasn't Henri? Was that? But we did a really good walkthrough last week with Captain Schneider put it together with his emergency management hat on with the Red Cross, 3 members of the Red Cross, the facilities director for the school, the head of food services for the school, chief, deputy chief, myself, Teresa Hirsch, and the animal control officer, all to kind of do a big tabletop kind of on opening the emergency shelter, whether it's a hurricane, as usually more hurricane type events, but hopefully not, but some other mass incident. And it was really good, like designated where animals would go, the policies around it, making sure everybody had backup keys, like a few things we ran into last time just to kind of troubleshoot. If it, heaven forbid, we have a tornado or something, different areas of the school are good for things. And it was good. It was probably like 2 hours. It was a while, but we went through a lot of stuff, and it was really good to get everybody together, updating kind of just those like shared mutual agreements that some of them hadn't been updated in a long time between the regions. So it's like us, North Stonington, Ledyard, Groton. I think that's it. And then also just with the Red Cross. So it was good. It was really productive, and it felt like everybody's rowing in the same direction. I can stop there unless Stacey, is there anything else big that I should?
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask about the gents, but.
I was like, what were you acting out? I think just the other thing, I know I did this last time we were on camera. Don't think it helped, but just to remind people, again, like, please, like, kindness matters, civility matters, how you talk to people matters. Like, it's understandable to be frustrated. Some people have very genuine concerns, but it is not the 2 amazing team members we have, Jill and Jill, who are so dedicated to their work in the solid waste. It is not their fault that this is happening. So please stop being mean to them. If any of you are listening, please share this message. Like, it's gotten, we kind of laugh about it, but like, it's gotten to the point where it's like, it's abusive. Like, they're up to over 100 calls a day now for 2 weeks. Before that, it was 50, 60 calls a day. And the vast majority are not kind. It's getting, this week, the past 2 days have gotten a little bit better, where it's more, genuine questions and, can we brainstorm and concern? But I mean, just, too much. And also just to please be patient, because when you're getting that many calls and you're also trying to run a department, you're also trying to work through this massive transition, like, they're usually really good about getting back to people the exact same day. Like, now it might take 2 days. If they don't get back to you, please don't show up at town hall with your bins and leave them in town hall. That's also highly inappropriate, among other things that we could share. But, they're trying their best. Don't yell and scream at them. They're having people scream at them and then going out, loading their own truck, putting their bins in so they can take them away. And it's people, like, it just would be great if people could have perspective, channel their energy into maybe helping find solutions. If you have people in your neighborhood, maybe Canvas, reach out to say, do people need help bringing their trash out now that the system has changed? You know, maybe you could give back, maybe your kids could give back, maybe you could find someone else if you're not able to help in this situation. Like, we are a community, let's help each other. You know, government can't figure out every single issue that's gonna come up. They're trying their best and they're working really hard. But again, to remind people, like, the contract was bought out on a Friday. You mean, we're notified, and they worked so hard to ensure that trash could have just stopped then. We could have had no trash, no recycling, no compost pickup, and everyone would have had to just bring it to the transfer station for potentially months.
Yeah.
They worked really hard to get this in place. It's understandably not ideal for a lot of people, but this is the way the industry is moving. And anybody who can help remind people of that, this isn't a choice that we went out and said, hey, let's just get the cheapest possible option, and we're gonna get these giant carts that are inconvenient for everybody. Like, this is the way the industry is moving. Like,
Every other town.
you know, other towns already have these large carts. Ones who have smaller carts, it's because they have older trucks. And they're changing out those trucks, and the other towns will be moving to these. This is the way, again, don't have to agree with it. I could pick a lot of, you know, complaints with it, but like, they're moving to a model that requires less people and it's more automated, and this is where they're going. And, you know, our team does not have any control over this massive company. And I will say, they said they've done these transitions in New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and now Connecticut, and this has been the most challenging and upsetting situation and community they've ever encountered.
Great.
So I think we just need to put it in perspective, and especially behind our own staff members, because they really, really work hard and they do a lot. And just this last weekend, they're working on Saturday doing hazardous waste day in the rain, like helping the community, like out there working on a weekend.
Jill was out there directing traffic.
Yeah.
I went to hazardous
Yeah,
waste day.
like they do so much. So if you're not part of the problem, you could also just be part of the solution. If you go to the transfer station or want to send an email to solid waste firm and just say thank you, or like, hey, hang in there. Like, it's gotten to the point where, I mean, we deal with a lot. Stacey and I were saying, a lot of challenging situations in 6 years of being here. This is definitely one of the absolute worst in terms of like the abuse people are handing out, and it's not okay. So yeah, sorry you brought that up, but there's my, yeah.
I felt bad because I actually had to reach out because ours were delivered great. We knew they were coming, all the neighborhood, but they didn't have any information.
Yeah, the
in
paper
them.
was missing.
So I had to say.
That's fine. Yeah.
So I'm suggesting, and I did suggest this to Jill, somehow publish it.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, the
so-
like what goes in there?
Yeah, because our trash day is changing and I didn't know that until she sent me the paper, so. So if there's a way, because on the website, and on their website, it's not there yet. They have a picture of the previous, like where, you know, so it says where our trash is picked up Thursday, for example, but that's not
Did they
the
say
case
when it was
anymore.
starting?
It's starting the 21st of April, very soon. But then there's going to be an alternate week. And so
Well,
I've already
leads into
had
it.
many
Yeah.
people calling me to say, what's our alternate week? And it's like, I don't know, you know.
Yeah,
and
they
so-
did post a picture of it once, but I think that should be posted like every week.
And it should be
For a while.
definitely on the app and definitely on their website because.
Nice, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Because I think, again, like, it's not to say, like, don't call or engage, like, definitely do, like, they want to help, they want to talk through this, it just, you know, be kind when you're calling, and be patient, because it might not be a
Yeah, exactly.
2-hour turnaround like people are used to, it might be a 24,
Yeah.
30-hour turnaround, but that's really helpful, because again,
Yeah.
they are
I mean,
really
I felt bad
overwhelmed.
calling, but I was like, you're going to get a call from everybody in the neighborhood. I mean, none of us got.
No, don't feel bad
things,
calling.
so, yeah.
Everybody should definitely reach
Yeah.
out. They just need to be nice when they do it. But that's a good, we can reach out to her tomorrow to be sure we can help with putting it on the app and social media, and then the main news part of the website, not just the solid
Yeah.
waste part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we said, it is challenging.
Oh, absolutely. It's a total different change, but, you know, like, happens.
I think we should end on something positive. Can I think of anything else good that's?
Spring's here.
Yeah, it's freezing out.
It's spring and it's freezing, yay! No,
Daffodils are out.
there's a lot of good stuff happening. Maybe we'll remind people, go to the beautification committee fundraiser.
Yes, yeah.
All right, I'll be more positive
April
next week.
23rd, Gray Sale.
Yeah,
I don't even know
April
what date it
23rd,
is. I
Gray Sale.
just saw it, so,
Thank you, over and out, we'll
All right.
adjourn.
thank you.